this piece is actually what we see as a foundational piece for hopefully a lot of researchers who want to learn about QMS and conducting a QMS themselves. So it's basically for everyone who wants to get familiar with the methods. It's a very, I would say, foundational piece to get to know what this method is all about. So you can learn different approaches of how you can do a qualitative meta study. So in our article, we basically review everything that has been done in the field of management in the past 20 years, because before that, there was not a lot going on. And we basically mapped out different approaches of qualitative meta studies in the field of management. And we came up with round about 3 main approaches, how you could do it: a descriptive one, a confirmatory one, and an exploratory qualitative meta study. And in particular, for those interested in building theory and advancing theory, the confirmatory QMS and the exploratory QMS are particularly interesting. And for these 2 approaches, we develop reflective guidelines for researchers, so that you have not a rigid template that you can follow, but actually questions that you can ask yourself, ideas how you can engage with different types of qualitative meta studies. And for us, it was very important to show that it is not a one-size-fits-all QMS out there, because that was a bit of what was assumed very often, and people were not really talking to each other. We saw there were not a lot of cross-references in these articles. And we basically show that there are indeed different ways of conducting a qualitative meta study, and this is what we're going to show in this paper. And now Markus can jump in.
Yeah, maybe a couple of other thoughts. So, of course, one of the starting ideas is, why should you do a qualitative meta study at all? Yeah. So, and I think there are different ways of how you can synthesize research. Yeah. So you can do like systematic literature review. You can do quantitative meta studies. You can do qualitative meta studies. And I think this is what we were motivated. So when you usually do a traditional systematic literature review, it's very helpful, and you can, of course, tease out new future research avenues, but it's not really designed for theory building. And that's what we became more interested in. So in how far can you advance the method for different ways of theory exploration and theory building? And that's basically why we became so interested in working on QMS. So we have done a couple of them by ourselves. This was, I think, one of the key motivating things. Yeah, when the field is somehow fragmented and you are trying to make sense of this fragmentation of case evidence, and then using a method that will tease out interesting patterns that you can then use for interesting theory building. And I think this was one of the motivation. And there are other motivations because there are also other methods how you can synthesize existing qualitative research, but not all of them are actually capable of also doing process theorizing. Yeah? So we were in particular interested in doing process theorizing in our QMS, the 2019 paper on organizational failure. And then we thought, but what could we do in order to have a broader methodology that also helps for process theorizing? And in this respect, we thought that was particularly interesting to have a method that can also deal with process data.